Welcome back. As promised earlier, we want to bring forward one of the representatives from the Ministry of Labor. She is Labor Inspector 2, and her name is Taramatie Rampersad. Taramatie joins me here on the Zoom line. It's all part of the World Day Against Child Labor. It's actually celebrated on the 12th, so that's Sunday. And I'm really happy, Ms. Rampersad, that you and your team using the outlet, using the different platforms to bring awareness to this most, I would say, serious issue. It's something that we see, and it's something that I know the ministry has been, for many years, trying to bring awareness and bring forward some kind of remedy to this particular issue. Welcome. Good morning.
Yes, Jason, good morning, and thank you for having me on your program.
Can you describe for us and break down for us what's from the legal framework and from the labor ministry framework, the accepted age to work and to be employed? For me, I started off when I was around 15, 16 at a bakery during the summer vacation. I would do a little something for the July, August, then Christmas, Easter, and that's how it kind of started for me. But what's the official guideline at this point in time?
Okay, in Trinidad and Tobago, the legal age for admission to employment is 16 years. And what that really means is no child or no one under the age of 16 years should be employed in Trinidad and Tobago.
Whether formally or informally?
Yes, but saying without, there is also exemptions to the age of 16. If children are working in a family business,
yes,
or they're working outside of school hours during this, as you were saying, Jason, working during the school vacation periods, once the work that they are performing is not impacting on their education and they are not, or even impacting on their health, they can work.
Mm-hmm. You know, I'm watching the saying that, you know, child labor is not only a labor issue, it's multidimensional. I'll give you a chance to elaborate there, because I know you and your colleagues for many years would have tried to get this information out to employers. What are some of the measures or the restrictions in place to ensure that employers and people who try to, well, in many cases, take advantage of some of these youngsters because they want to make them work hard and give them, you know, as they say, small and a small change. What's some of the measures in place to ensure the message is out and that this is something that cannot be a common occurrence, it cannot be the gold standard?
What I'd like to say on that question that you're posing, child labor is a multifaceted issue. It's a human rights issue. It's a social issue. It's an educational issue. And because it's such a burning issue, the Ministry of Labor has set up a national steering committee for the prevention and elimination of child labor in Trinidad and Tobago. The committee is responsible for drafting a national action plan and setting policy in a Trinidad and Tobago context. If an employer is, well, if he has a young person under the age of 16 years working in his business, there are fines that can be imposed on that employer. The fine is $25,000 and 3 years imprisonment.
Okay. Yeah.
And also for the parent who allows their child to work, that carries a fine of $5,000.
Well, I mean, you know, we find ourselves where the circumstance and the financial situation in some families, some households, it's dire. And some children, you know, step out into the workplace to assist. We see it all the time on the highway, at the beach. You know, I guess from one angle, you could say, you know what, the child is learning and getting some kind of business acumen, and they can learn the hustle early and use that now to propel themselves into bigger business. But then there's also the part where many look at it as a child being denied their childhood, their chance to play, their chance to just be a child. I'm seeing more and more these days young children out and about on the hustle. I'm sure you would have seen it yourself. What's the perspective? What's the approach to try to curb this?
Well, Jason, a child under the age of 16 should not be working. Now, because of the pandemic and so on, there were children had to access their education online. And some children, because of poverty and so on, and lack of the tools, which is like devices and so on, were not working. But in essence, children are not supposed to really be working like on a full-time basis. If a child is out there, the ministry is now partnering with the Ministry of Social Development and Family Services.
Okay.
So that assistance, financial assistance, counseling, and so on could be provided for the families who are in that predicament.
Yeah, that's. I'm happy to hear that particular collaboration there. I'm watching via the notes some of the worst forms of child labor include sex trafficking, child prostitution, child pornography, child soldering. These countries where they put a gun in a child hand and put them to fight civil war, and also the trafficking of drugs. Based on what we would have just mentioned there, any particular issues like that arise in Trinidad?
Well, what you're describing there is the worst forms of child labor. And the worst forms are really dealt with by the counter-trafficking unit as well as the Children's Authority. And yes, I'm aware that there were instances where children were in I think it's the prostitution, and charges were laid by the city with respect to those matters.
Yeah. Does this particular law also take into consideration the immigrant population, those folks who are here, looking for a better life, and sometimes their children and all might get involved with the work? Does this cover everyone under the Trinidad and Tobago sun?
Of course, the laws in Trinidad and Tobago apply to everyone, not only to nationals of Trinidad and Tobago, but also to the migrant population.
All right, thanks for that piece of information. And this Durban call to action, can you elaborate and give us some more details there? That's an international call that we are signing up and we are a part of?
Yes, it is an international call, and Trinidad and Tobago is part of that Durban call to action.
Excellent. So we have signed up there. And how can folks participate? What's a way that the average Trinbagonian could assist and be part of the solution to this particular problem?
Jason, the Ministry of Labor is trying to bring awareness on this issue of child labor, and to commemorate the World Day Against Child Labor, the Ministry of Labor is putting on social media a survey to bring awareness to the population of what is child labor and where they can make reports of child labor, and that is where what we are interested in. We cannot fight child labor on our own, and we are depending on the population when they see children working on the street selling to make the necessary reports to the Ministry of Labor, the Labor Inspectorate Unit, so that an investigation can commence.
Before we wrap things up, give us the fines and the legal framework again to protect children against this particular issue of child labor. You would have mentioned it earlier. Just give me that one more time. Okay,
so the fine for the employer that employs a child under the age of 16 years, the fine is $25,000 and 3 years imprisonment. And for the parent who allows their child to work under 16 years, the fine is $5,000.
Interesting. Is there any particular website, any particular,
yes,
number folks can call to get more details?
Yeah, reports can be made by telephone to our unit, the Labor Inspectorate Unit of the Ministry of Labor, and that number is 299-0300, option 3. Or at our San Fernando office, the number is 285-5133, option 4. We also have reports that can be made to Childline, and they have a hotline number 131 or 800-4321. Reports can also be made to the Children's Authority of Trinidad and Tobago. They also have a hotline number 996. The Occupational Safety and Health Authority reports can also be made there. Their number is 623-6742. And of course, reports can be made to the Counter Trafficking Unit, and they also have, their number is 800-4288.
Taramatie Rampersad, I want to thank you for coming on. Obviously, in recognition and commemoration of the World Day Against Child Labor. That's on Sunday. You know, this interview and the media blitz you will do this week will bring forward much needed information to the public. Thank you so much. Labor Inspector 2, Taramatie Rampersad. All the best to you and your colleagues.
Thank you very much, Jason. Thanks for having me on your show.
Most welcome. So you heard it there for yourself, huh? 16 is the age, and there are indeed some severe charges. So employers, be very mindful of that. And parents also. Yes, sometimes it's good to have the child being part of the mix, and some children too want to contribute, but we need to be very mindful and stay within the framework of the law. We come back. Let's take a break and see what's happening on the other side. Stay with us.